Shitara Shitishma Srila Bhaktivedanta Vaman Vasai Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Vishnu Vishnupara Shitara Shitishma Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitya Vishnu Mahabhagavat Srila Gokshara Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Vishnu Srila Satchidananda Bhaktivedanta Thakur ki jai. Nitya Vishnu Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupa Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Patadash Guna Sharva Sai Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshara Vrinda ki jai. Namachay Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se ko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandal Gaur Mandal Vaja Mandal Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishya Bharata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund ki jai. Shri Mona Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Gaur. Okay, just opening up Mangalachan. Sorry guys, I'm a bit. Okay. Sharing my screen. There. Where is it? Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad Vedanta Narayanati Namine. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo mahavadanyaya Krishna prema pradayate Krishnaya Krishna chaitanya namne gauratishe namaha. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yam Pravrajantam Anupetam Apeta Krityam Dvaipayano Virakatara Ajuhava Putreti Tanmayataya Taravo Binedustam Sarva Putta Hridaya Munimanatosmi. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayit Shrinvatang Swakata Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtana Vedantasto Yabadrani Vidhunoti Suritsatam Nashta Prayeshvabadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. Tavaivasmi na jivami tvaya vina. Iti vigyaya rate tvam nayamam charanantikam. Bhaktya vihina aparada lakshay kshiptashtaka titarangamate. Kripa maitam sharanam prapana vrinde namaste charana ravindam. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Dandavat pranams Indira Mataji and Raseshwari Mataji. And yes, Raseshwari, yes, I'm fully better. So that's good. It wasn't anything, it didn't turn into anything bad. All right, so yesterday after the marriage and Devahuti's parents left, Swayambhuva Manu and what was her name? Oh God, how did I forget her name? Anyways, Manu's wife. Then Devahuti, she pleased Kardama Muni by serving him constantly with the following qualities: with her chastity, understanding the desires of her husband, her great love, intimacy, purity of mind and body, great respect, self-control, sense control, love, sweet words, giving up all lust, pride, envy, greed, sinful activities, any vanity, working sanely and diligently. And then, having served Kardama Muni for a long time, Devahuti grew weak and emaciated. She expected great blessings from him. Seeing her condition, Kardama was overcome with compassion and spoke to her as follows: I am pleased with you, as you have served me without caring for your own body, which is most dear to people. All the blessings that I have attained from the Lord through my austerity, meditation, and Krishna consciousness, which are free from fear and lamentation, I shall offer them to you. What is the use of attainments other than the Lord's grace? All material achievements are destroyed by the movement of the Lord's brow. By devotion to your husband, you have achieved rare transcendental gifts which are difficult to obtain for proud persons. And then Devahuti, she requests Kardama for a child. Upon hearing her husband, innocent Devahuti was very satisfied. Shining with a slightly bashful glance, she replied in a choked voice, You have achieved all this perfection since you are the master of infallible mystic powers. Please fulfill the promise of giving me children, since bearing children through a husband is a praiseworthy quality for a chaste woman. Make my emaciated body fit for you to unite and arrange a suitable house for it. Desiring to please his wife, Kardama created an aerial mansion that could travel at his will. So now is the description of the aerial mansion. That's where we are today. 13. Oops. Okay. Rishiruvacha Jushtam Batadakila Satarashe Sangsidyamakshnos Tavadarshananma Yadarshanam Janma Biridya Sarbir Asasate Yogino Ruda Yoga. The Mridanga at the end? Okay, I'll play the Mridanga at the end. Dandavat pranams Devati. The great sage Kardama said, O supreme worshipful Lord, my power of sight is now fulfilled. My power of sight is now fulfilled, having attained the greatest perfection of the sight of you, who are the reservoir of all existences. Through many successive births of deep meditation, advanced yogis aspire to see your transcendental form. Wait, in the previous verse? Oh shoot, we're not on the right chapter. Thank God I caught that. I've done that so many times. Okay, my God. Here. Okay, so Maitreya continued. O Vidura, seeking to please his beautiful wife, his beloved wife, the sage Kardama exercised his yogic power and instantly produced an aerial mansion that could travel at his will. Okay, there. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. Sarvakama dugdam devyam sarvaratna samanvitam sarvadupachayo darkam manistam bharupaskritam. It was a wonderful structure, bedecked with all sorts of jewels, adorned with pillars of precious stones, and capable of yielding whatever one desired. It was equipped with every form of furniture and wealth, which tended to increase the course of time. Oh no, still wrong verse. Right? No, I think this is correct. We read this purport yesterday, right? Here the word. Yes, we did read that purport. Okay, I think we're at the right place now. Okay. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The castle created in the sky by Kardama Muni may be called a castle in the air. But by his mystic power of yoga, Kardama Muni actually constructed a huge castle in the air. He actually constructed a huge castle in the air. To our feeble imagination, a castle in the sky is an impossibility. But if we scrutinizingly consider the matter, we can understand that it is not impossible at all. If the Supreme Personality of Godhead can create so many planets carrying millions of castles in the air, a perfect yogi like Kardama Muni can easily construct one castle. He can easily construct one castle in the air. The castle is described as Sarva Kama Dukam, yielding whatever one desired. It was full of jewels. Even the pillars were made of pearls and valuable stones. These valuable jewels and stones were not subject to deterioration, but were everlastingly and increasingly opulent. We sometimes hear of castles thus bedecked on the surface of this earth also. The castle was constructed by Lord Krishna for his lamplight during the night. Huh? Maybe there's a line missing. Oh God. Let me see. Yes, there is a line missing here. Okay. The castles constructed by Lord Krishna for his 16,108 wives were so bedecked with jewels that there was no need of lamplight during the night. Oh God, that's scary. How many times have I missed lines in the purport and not noticed? Anyhow. Devyopakaranopētam sarvakala sukavaham Patikabi patakabir vichitrabir alankritam Sragvir vichitramalyabir manjusinjat sharangribi Dukulakshamakosheyar nanavastar virajitam. The castle was fully equipped with all necessary paraphernalia, and it was pleasing in all seasons. It was decorated all around with flags, festoons, and artistic work of variegated colors. It was further embellished with wreaths of charming flowers that attracted sweetly humming bees, and with tapestries of linen, silk, and various other fabrics. Uparyupari vinyasta nilayeshu pratak pratak Kshiptai kashi pupi kantam paryanka vyajanasanai. The palace looked charming, with beds, couches, fans, and seats, all separately arranged in 7 stories. Oops. What the heck? That's so weird. What the heck happened? Okay. It is understood from this verse that the castle had many stories. The words upari vinasyata indicates that skyscrapers are not newly invented. Even in those days, millions of years ago, the idea of building many-storied houses was current. They contained not merely 1 or 2 rooms, but many different apartments, and each was completely decorated with cushions, bedsteads, sitting places, and carpets. Tatra tatra vinikshipta nanashilpopashobhitam Mahamarakatastalya Jushtam Vidrumavedivi. Its beauty was enhanced by artistic engravings here and there on the walls. The floor was of emerald with coral diases. At the present moment, we are very proud of people are very proud of their architectural art. Yet floors are generally decorated with colored cement. It appears, however, that the castle constructed by the yogic powers of Kardama Muni had floors of emerald with coral diases. Dvasu vidruma dehalya bhatem vajra kapatavat Shikareshvendranileshu hemakumbhar atishritam. The palace was very beautiful, with its coral thresholds at the entrances and its doors bedecked with diamonds. Gold pinnacles crowned its domes of sapphire. Chakshushmat Padmaragaryar Vajrabhitishu nirmitai Jushta vichitra vaitanar Maharhar Hematoranai. With the choicest rubies set in its diamond walls, it appeared as though possessed of eyes. It was furnished with wonderful canopies and greatly valuable gates of gold. Purport. Artistic jewelry and decorations giving the appearance of eyes are not imaginary. Even in recent times, the Mughal emperors constructed their palaces with decorations of jeweled birds and eyes made of valuable stones. The stones have been taken away by the authorities, but the decorations are still present in some of the castles constructed by the Mughal emperors in New Delhi. The royal palaces were built with jewels and rare stones resembling eyes, and thus at night they would give off reflective light without need of lamps. Hangsa paravata vratais tatra tatra nikujitam kritriman manyamanai swan adiruhya cha. Here and there in that palace were multitudes of live swans and pigeons, as well as artificial swans and pigeons, so lifelike that the real swans rose above them again and again, thinking them live birds like themselves. Thus the palace vibrated with the sounds of these birds. Viharastana vishrama samvesha prangana jirai yato pajosham rachitar vismapanam ivatmanam. The castle had pleasure grounds, resting chambers, bedrooms, and inner and outer yards designed with an eye to comfort. All this caused astonishment to the sage himself. Purport. Kardama Muni, being a saintly person, was living in a humble hermitage. But when he saw the palace constructed by his yogic powers, which was full of resting rooms, rooms for sex enjoyment, and inner and outer yards, he himself was astonished. That is the way of a God-gifted person. A devotee like Kardama Muni exhibited such opulence by his mystic power at the request of his wife. But when the opulence was produced, he himself could not understand how such manifestations could be possible. When a yogi's power is exhibited, the yogi himself is sometimes astonished. Ete griham tatpashyantam nati pritena chetasa sarvabhuta shaya bhigya pravochat kardama swayam. When he saw Devahuti looking at the gigantic, opulent palace with a displeased heart, Kardama Muni could understand her feelings because he could study the heart of anyone. Thus, he personally addressed his wife as follows. Devahuti had spent a long time in the hermitage, not taking much care of her body. She was covered with dirt, and her clothing was not very nice. Kardama Muni was surprised that he could produce such a palace, and similarly his wife Devahuti was also astonished. How could she live in that opulent palace? Kardama Muni understood her astonishment, and thus he spoke as follows. Nimajasmin rate biro vimanam idam aruha idam shukla kritam tirtam ashisham yapakam nrinam. My dear Devahuti, you look very much afraid. First bathe in the lake Bindu-sarovara, created by Lord Vishnu himself, which can grant all the desires of a human being, and then mount this airplane. Purport. It is the system to go to palaces of pilgrimage and take bath in the water there. In Vrindavan, the people take baths in the river Yamuna. In other places, such as Prayag, they take baths in the river Ganges. The words Tirtam, Ashisham, Yapakam refer to the fulfillment of desires by bathing in a place of pilgrimage. Kardama Muni advised his good wife to bathe in the lake Bindu-sarovara so that she could revive the formal beauty and luster of her body. Satarvartu samadaya vachako valayakshana sarajang bibhrati vaso veni bhutangs chamurtajan. The lotus-eyed Devahuti accepted the order of her husband. Because of her dirty dress and the locks of matted hair on her head, she did not look very attractive. Purport. It appears that Devahuti's hair had remained uncombed for many years and had become complicated in tangles. In other words, she neglected her bodily dress and comforts to engage in the service of her husband. Angam cha malapankena sanchanam shabalastanam avivesha saraswatya sarashiva jalashayam. Her body was coated with a thick layer of dirt, and her breasts were discolored. She dove, however, into the lake, which contained the sacred waters of the Saraswati. She dove. That's so cool. Okay. Santa Sarasiveshmasta Shatani Dashakanyaka Sarvakishoravayasa Dadarshot Palagandaya. In a house inside the lake, she saw 1,000 girls, all in the prime of youth. Uh-oh, what happened to my internet? Computer says that it isn't. But sometimes it gives me a false alarm. It says network connection 0 out of 10. Yeah, guys, let me know because I don't want to be reading without you. I'll check on this. Okay, my internet seems to be working here, so I guess it's getting a false alarm. Tam drishta sahasotaya brochu pranjalaya stiya vayam karma karistubhyam shadina karavamakim. Seeing her, the damsel suddenly rose and said with folded hands, "What we can do for you?" Oh, I was gone. Okay. Did I miss anything? Because I waited for a little while. In a house inside the lake, she saw 1,000 girls, all in the prime of youth and fragrant like lotuses. And then they saw her and suddenly rose. "We are your maidservants. Tell us what we can do for you." Purport. While Devahuti was thinking of what to do in that dress and her dirty clothes, there were at once, by the mystic powers of Kardama Muni, 1,000 maidservants prepared to serve her. They appeared before Devahuti within the water and presented themselves as her maidservants. simply awaiting her orders. Okay. Okay, good. Thanks. Snanena tam maharhena payitva manasvinim dukule nirmale nutne tadurasyai chamanata. The girls, being very respectful to Devahuti, brought her forth, and after bathing her with valuables and ointments, they gave her fine, new, spotless cloth to cover her body. Bhushanani parartyani variyakshi dumanticha anam sarva gunopetam panam chaivam amritasvavam. They then decorated her with very excellent and valuable jewels, which shone brightly. Next, they offered her food containing all good qualities, and a sweet inebriating drink called asavam. Asavam is an Ayurvedic medical preparation. It is not liquor. It is especially made from drugs and is meant to improve metabolism for the healthy condition of good drugs, not bad drugs, right? Atadarshe sragvinam virajambaram virajam kritaswastaya virajam kritaswastayam kanyabir bahumanitam. Then in a mirror she beheld her own reflection. Her body was completely freed from all dirt, and she was adorned with a garland and unsullied robes and decorated with auspicious marks of tilak. She was served very respectfully by the maids. Snatam krita shira snanam sarva bharana bhushitam nishkagrivam valayinam kujam shananupuram. Body, including her head, was completely bathed, and she was decorated all over with ornaments. She wore a special necklace with a locket. There were wrists and tinkling anklets of gold about her ankles. The word Krita Shira Snanam is here. According to the Smriti Shastra's directions for daily routines, ladies are allowed to bathe daily up to the neck. The hair on the head does not necessarily have to be washed daily, because the mass of wet hair may cause a cold. For ladies, therefore, taking a bath up to the neck is ordinarily prescribed, and they take a full bath only on certain occasions. On this occasion, Devahuti took a full bath and washed her hair very nicely. When a lady takes an ordinary bath, it is called malasnan, and when she takes a full bath, including the head, it is called shirasnan. At this time, she needs sufficient oil to smear on her head. That is the direction of the commentators of Smriti Shastra. Sorry. Oh, is it Raseshwari Mataji? Is the screen getting stuck? That's okay. So malasnan and shirasnan. When you wash your hair, it's called shirasnan. Shronyor Adhyaks. Such a random piece of information. Shronyor Adhyatstaya Kanchanya Bahuratnaya Harena Cha Maharena Ruchakena Chapushitam. About her hips she wore a girdle of gold, set with numerous jewels, and she was further adorned with a precious pearl necklace and auspicious substances. Auspicious substances include saffron, kumkum, and sandalwood pulp. Before taking a bath, there are other auspicious substances, such as turmeric mixed with mustard seed oil, which are smeared all over the body. All kinds of auspicious substances were used to bathe Devahuti from top to toe. Sudata subhruva slakshna snegdha pangena chakshusha parmakosha spridha nilar alakaishchala sanmukam. Her countenance shone with beautiful teeth and charming eyebrows. Her eyes, distinguished by lovely moist corners, defeated the beauty of lotus buds. Her face was surrounded by dark curling tresses. Purport. According to Vedic culture, white teeth are very much appreciated. Devahuti's white teeth increased the beauty of her face and made it look like a lotus flower. When a face looks very attractive, the eyes are generally compared to lotus petals and the face to a lotus flower. Yada sasmara rishabam rishinam daitam patim tatra chaste sahastribir yatraste sa prajapati. When she thought of her great husband, the best of sages, Kardama Muni, who was very dear to her, she, along with all the maidservants, at once appeared where he was. Purport. It appears from this verse in the beginning, Devahuti thought herself to be dirty and dressed in a very niggardly way. When her husband asked her to enter the lake, she saw the maidservants, and they took care of her. Everything was done within the water, and as soon as she thought of her beloved husband, Kardama, she was brought before him without delay. These are some of the powers attained by perfect yogis. They can immediately execute anything they desire. Bharta purustaratmanam stri sahasra vritam tada nishamya taryoga gatin shangshayam pratyapadyata. She was amazed to find herself surrounded by 1,000 maids in the presence of her husband and to witness his yogic power. Purport. Devahuti saw everything miraculously done. Yet when brought before her husband, she could understand that it was all due to his great yogic mystic power. She understood that nothing was impossible for a yogi like Kardama Muni. Satam. Okay, there's a line missing. Satam kritam alasnanam viprajantim apurvavat atmano bhratim rupam samvita ruchirastanim. 36, 37. 1 second. Just Vidyadari sahasrena sevyamana suvasanam jata bhava vimanam tar arohayad amitrakyahan. The sage could see that Devahuti had washed herself clean and was shining forth as though no longer his former wife. She had regained her own original beauty as the daughter of a prince. Dressed in excellent robes, her charming breasts duly girded. I don't know what girded means. The girded means. Anyways. She was waited upon by 1,000 Gandharva girls. O destroyer of the enemy, his fondness for her grew, and he placed her on the aerial mansion. I'm just curious, what does girded mean? I don't have my dictionary set up, so I can just click on it and see the definition. Anyways. Encircled. Okay. Encircled with a belt or band. Like a part of the body encircled with a belt or band. A young man was to be girded with a belt of knighthood. Okay. O destroyer of the enemy, his fondness for her grew, and he placed her upon the aerial mansion. Before her marriage, when Devahuti was brought by her parents before the sage Kardama. Before her marriage, when Devahuti was brought by her parents before the sage Kardama, she was the perfectly beautiful princess, and Kardama Muni remembered her former beauty. But after her marriage, when she was engaged in the service of Kardama Muni, she neglected to care for her body like a princess, since there was no means for such care. Her husband was living in a cottage, and since she was always engaged in serving him, her royal beauty disappeared, and she became just like an ordinary maidservant. Now, after being bathed by the Gandharva girls by the order of Kardama Muni's yogic power, she regained her beauty, and Kardama Muni felt attracted to the beauty she had shown before the marriage. The real beauty of a young woman is her breasts. When Kardama Muni saw the breasts of his wife so nicely decorated, increasing her beauty many times, he was attracted, even though he was a great sage. Shripad Shankaracharya has therefore warned the transcendentalists that one who is after transcendental realization should not be attracted by the raised breasts of a woman because they are nothing but an interaction of fat and blood within the body. Sorry, that was a funny purport. Okay. Tasmena lupta mahima priyaya nurakto vidadhari virupachirna vapur vimane babhraja utkacha kumur ganavan apichas tara bhiravrita ivodu patirna bhasta. I love how Srila Prabhupada will just say anything. Though seemingly attached to his beloved consort while served by the Gandharva girls, the sage did not lose his glory, which was mastery over his self. In the aerial mansion, Kardama Muni with his consort shone as charmingly as the moon in the midst of the stars in the sky, which causes rows of lilies to open in ponds at night. Wow, how poetic. Purport. The mansion was in the sky, and therefore the comparison to the full moon and stars is very beautifully composed in this verse. Kardama Muni looked like the full moon, and the girls who surrounded his wife, Devahuti, seemed just like the stars. On a full moon night, the stars and the moon shown together form a beautiful constellation. Similarly, in that aerial mansion in the sky, Kardama Muni with his beautiful wife and the damsels surrounding them appeared like the moon and stars on a full moon night. Tenashta lokapa vihara kula chalendra dronishvananga sakamaruta sobhagasu siddharnata dyudhuni pata shiva swanasu Reme chiram tanadaval lalana varuthi. In that aerial mansion, he traveled to the pleasure valleys of Mount Meru, which were rendered all the more beautiful by cool, gentle, fragrant breezes that stimulated passion. In these valleys, the treasure of the gods, Kuvera, surrounded by beautiful women and praised by the Siddhas, generally enjoys pleasure. Kardama Muni also, surrounded by the beautiful damsels and his wife, went there and enjoyed for many, many years. Where did they go? The valleys of Mount Meru. Purport. Kuvera is one of the 8 demigods who are in charge of different directions of the universe. It is said that Indra is in charge of the eastern side of the universe, where the heavenly planet, or paradise, is situated. Similarly, Agni is in charge of the southeastern portion of the universe. Yama, the demigod who punishes sinners, is in charge of the southern portion. Niriti is in charge of the southwestern part of the universe. Varuna, the demigod in charge of the waters, is in charge of the western portion. Vayu, who controls the air and who has wings to travel in the air, is in charge of the northwestern part of the universe, and Kuvera, the treasurer of the demigods, is in charge of the northern part of the universe. All these demigods take pleasure in the valleys of Mount Meru, which is situated somewhere between the sun and the earth. In the aerial mansion, Kardama Muni traveled throughout the 8 directions controlled by the different demigods described above, and as the demigods go to Mount Meru, he also went there to enjoy life. When one is surrounded by young, beautiful girls, sex stimulation naturally becomes prominent. Kardama Muni was sexually stimulated, and he enjoyed his wife for many, many years in that part of Mount Meru. But his sex indulgence was praised by many, many siddhas, beings who have attained perfection, because it was intended to produce good progeny for the good of universal affairs. Vaishram bhake surasane nandane pushpa bhadrake manase chaitrartaye cha sare me ramaya rata. Satisfied by his wife, he enjoyed in that aerial mansion not only on Mount Meru, but in different gardens known as Vaishrambhaka, Surasana, Nandana, Pushpabhadraka, and Chaitraratya, and by the Bindu-sarovara lake. Brajishnuna vimanena kamagena mahiyasa vaimanikan atyasheta charalokanyata nila. He traveled in that way through the various planets as the air passes uncontrolled in every direction. Coursing through the air in that great and splendid aerial mansion, which could fly at his will, he surpassed even the demigods. Purport. The planets occupied by the demigods are restricted to their own orbits, but Kardama Muni, by his yogic power, could travel all over the different directions of the universe without restriction. The living entities who are within the universe are called conditioned souls. That is, they are not free to move everywhere. We are inhabitants of this earthly globe. We cannot move freely to other planets. In the modern age, man is trying to go to other planets, but so far he has been unsuccessful. It is not possible to travel to any other planets because, by the laws of nature, even the demigods cannot move from one planet to another. But Kardama Muni, by his yogic power, could surpass the strength of the demigods and travel in space in all directions. The comparison here is very suitable. The words yatha anila indicates that as far as the words yatha anila indicate that as the air is free to move anywhere without restriction, so Kardama Muni unrestrictedly traveled in all directions of the universe. Kem durapadanam tesham puksam uddama chetasam yar ashritas tirtha padash charana vyasanantyaya. What is difficult to achieve for determined men who have taken refuge of the Supreme What is difficult to achieve for determined men who have taken refuge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's lotus feet? His feet are the source of sacred rivers like the Ganges, dangers of mundane life. What time is it? It is 7:49. I was planning on reading to verse 43. Okay. Wait, this is verse 42? Okay. Purport. The words Yar Ashritas Tirtha Padash Charana are significant here. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as Tirthapad. The Ganges is called a sacred river because it emanates from the toe of Vishnu. The Ganges is meant to eradicate all of the material distresses of the conditioned souls. For any living entity, therefore, who has taken shelter of the holy lotus feet of the Lord, nothing is impossible. Kardama Muni is special not because he was a great mystic, but because he was a great devotee. Haribol? I thought I heard somebody at my door. Therefore, it is said here that for a great devotee like Kardama Muni, nothing is impossible. Although yogis can perform wonderful feats, as Kardama Muni has already displayed, Kardama was more than a yogi because he was a great devotee of the Lord. Therefore, he was more glorious than an ordinary yogi. As it is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, out of the many yogis, he who is a devotee of the Lord is first class. For a person like Kardama Muni, there is no question of being conditioned. He was already a liberated soul, and better than the demigods who are also conditioned. Although he was enjoying with his wife and many other women, he was above material conditional life. Therefore, the word Vyasanatyaya is used to indicate that he was beyond the position of a conditioned soul. He was transcendental to all material limitations. Prekshayitva bhuvo golam padnyayavan svasangstaya bhavyashcharya mahayogi swashramaya nyavartata. After showing his wife the globe of the universe and its different arrangements, full of many wonders, the great yogi Kardama Muni returned to his own hermitage. Purport. All the planets are here described as gola, round. Every planet is round, and each planet is a different shelter, just like islands in the great ocean. Planets are sometimes called Dvipa or Varsha. This earth planet is called Bharat Varsha because it was ruled by King Bharat. Another significant word used in this verse is Bhavyashcharyam, many wonderful things. This indicates that the different planets are distributed all over the universe in the 8 directions, and each and every one of them is wonderful in itself. Each planet has its particular climatic influences and particular types of inhabitants, and is completely equipped with everything, including the beauty of the seasons. In the Brahma Samhita 540, it is similarly stated, Vibhuti Bhinam. On each and every planet, there are different opulences. It cannot be expected that one planet is exactly like another. By God's grace, by nature's law, each and every planet is made differently and has different wonderful features. All such wonders were personally experienced by Kardama Muni while he traveled with his wife, yet he could return again to his humble hermitage. He showed his princess wife that although he was living in the hermitage, he had the power to go everywhere and do anything by mystic yoga. That is the perfection of yoga. One cannot become a perfect yogi simply by showing some sitting postures. Such sitting postures or so-called meditation can one become God, is being advertised. Foolish persons are misled into believing that simply by some caricature of meditation and sitting postures, one can become God within 6 months. Here is an example of a perfect yogi. He could travel all over the universe. Similarly, there is a description of Durvasa Muni, who also traveled in space. Actually, the perfect yogi can do that. But even if one can travel all over the universe and show wonderful feats like Kardama Muni, he cannot be compared to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose power and inconceivable energy can never be attained by any conditioned or liberated soul. By the actions of Kardama Muni, we can understand that in spite of his immense mystic power, he remained a devotee of the Lord. That is the real position of every living entity. All right, so that's all for today. Text 44. Tomorrow we will read about, let me just check this out. 23. Actually, what time is it? It's okay, it's 7:55. So tomorrow, so then, yeah, after they returned home, they both unite and 9 daughters are born. And then Devahuti pleads with Kardama to please stay back. Seeing her husband leaving after fulfilling his promise, Devahuti requests him to bestow fearlessness. She laments for not utilizing her husband's association for developing knowledge of the Lord. That's what we're reading tomorrow. All right. So I'll do kirtan now. 1 second, let me just move this. Is it actually working? Do I have internet now? Yeah, it looks like my internet's working. See right here, it says network connection, 0 out of 10. Anyhow, so it's a false alarm, I guess. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. Jai Shri Guru Granthadari Hari, Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Maharaj Mohan Ju ki jai, Nitil Vishwa Vishnupad, Ashtatara Shata Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Narayan Goswami Maharaj Shri Gurudev ki jai, Nitil Vishwa Vishnupad, Ashtatara Shata Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Vaman Goswami Maharaj ki jai, Nitil Vishwa Vishnupad, Ashtatara Shata Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Vaman Goswami Maharaj ki jai, Nitil Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtatara Shatashmat Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitil Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtatara Shatashmat Srila Bhakti Vigyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtatara Shatashmat Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Nitil Vishnu Mahabhagavat Srila Gaur Kishoras Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Vishnu Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nitil Vishnu Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupa Nukorya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Patara Guna Shri Jeev Gopal Patadasha Guna Shara Gosai ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramananda ki jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.
It's 8
Shri
o'clock.
Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Vishwabrata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund ki jai. Shri Muna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Grantaraj ki jai. Shri Nitai Gomanande Hari Hari Bo. Vrindai Tulsidevai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavatai Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpataru Vyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dhanyavad pranams. Okay, when just talking, it doesn't sound like I'm underwater. Yeah, I don't know what's up with that. I think it's. Oh no, of course I know. It's just I'm using my mic. Sorry, my laptop mic right now. But when I use headphones, I think it's a bit better with my dongle because the mic is closer to my mouth. Maybe I can plug it in my headphones tomorrow. I don't know. Oh, and the internet was cutting, but good enough to follow. Okay. What I would do for good internet, there's nothing I can do that's beyond my control. It's annoying how it doesn't work. It's all the time. Anyways, but I do want to know whenever it is cutting out, just because sometimes if it's not, like if it's really bad and it's frustrating, maybe it's good to just wait till another day, like for the next day with it. Because it's not bad every day, right? It's just sometimes, some days, when the internet gods are not happy. All right. Thank you for joining me. See you all tomorrow. Jai Shri Radhe.